Well, if my mum can't love me, am I good enough? We'd just built a house and had a baby on the way. That's when peak stress levels started happening. I had got myself life insurance and I made sure it would pay in the event of suicide, but I had to wait a year. So I got that knowing that in a year would be the time and my family would be taken care of. Yeah, sorry.
When you were going through the worst, did you end up speaking to somebody?
It's her who I reached out to when I was going to take my life, and she told me to do it. Looking back now, at the first sign of my trouble, I should have just opened up.
And I know that there'll be someone, if not multiple people, who will hear what you've said, who will resonate with what you've said and see themselves in you, and that ripple effect that makes waves to be able to, let's be real, save people.
As humans, everything's trying to take the easy way out, but it's getting up and doing those hard things, having the hard conversations. That's where growth is, I reckon.
Who knew that day when I came up to do the mental health training that you would share?
Yeah.
And also,
I didn't.
No, right? You probably weren't. And that's the thing when we go up and do the training is it really depends on kind of what day you're having, what other people that you have in the group. And because it was like a smaller group, you feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Were you like up when I asked, because I think I ended up asking like, oh, does anybody else want to share if you had that experience? Anybody had experiences like that before? Did you have like, was your mouth dry and your eyes were wide and you're like, am I going to do it? Or you're like, yeah, this feels right.
It just happened. It just felt right, yeah. It just sort of came out. And before I knew it, I was saying it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It was weird. You asked a question and then in my head I was like, oh, I've got a story. And I was like, should I? And then I just did it. And then by the time I was doing it, I was like, oh, I've done it. And yeah.
Yeah. And as well, like when we all go up with leaders, and even with the group training, just having the conversation with people that sometimes it might not be myself or the other presenter that you're taking things away from. It's more than likely somebody who's sitting next to you who shares their experience, you know?
Yep.
So I'm so excited to go into depth. We've been chatting in between. It was so awesome to have you at the live event and have you there just sharing a small part of your story again. I know that you've had so much feedback on that and how much of an impact that you've made on people's lives, even the people that you spoke about during the event and shared how they'd impact your life have reached out to you as well. So for those people who didn't have no idea what we're talking about, who haven't necessarily listened to the what you shared and much of your story, JP, like we said, we met up on site. You're working mining. You're a FIFO partner. You're a FIFO father. You're a man navigating the world like in 2025. And you shared a little bit of your story when we were doing that leadership training. For those people who don't kind of know you, what's a little bit of background into, you know, I know you're the man who sits in front of me now is a completely different person to the person that you spoke about before. Who was JP before and how would he feel about sharing something so open and vulnerable about what's happened in life?
He definitely wouldn't have.
No.
I guess a pretty scared person on the inside and fairly confident on the outside, I guess, to mask what I was going through. Definitely. I don't think many people would have known that I was going through anything like that. I think my wife might have, but until I actually said something, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with men a lot of the time is there's the quietness and it's like, it's fine. I'm just going to get on with it. And, you know, like even when we met, obviously you're in a professional environment or professional like mining, you know, and you just don't know what somebody's got going on. You walked into the room with a smile on your face. I know that you were on the other side when we were having it, but I wouldn't have necessarily pictured or that your life had been the way that it was in what had got you to the point of being able to be the leader that you are, the father that you are, and the person that you're showing up with. We've touched on before a little bit about what shaped you and what life looked like, but can you take us back to like a little JP, so the kid that was in those formative years of like what life looked like for you when you were a kid?
Yeah. So I grew up, or I didn't grow up, but I was born in South Africa. Came to Australia when I was 7. My parents split when I was about 2 years old. Then mum remarried, and I got a pretty awesome stepdad out of it when I was 5. And we came to Australia when I was 7 because he got work over here. And I went back to South Africa a couple times to see my real dad, maybe 4 or 5 times within the first 2 years. And then when I was 9 years old, one night, probably 1 or 2 in the morning, parents woke me up, told me my dad had been in a car accident. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Is he okay?" Because my dad was an alcoholic, had many car accidents and survived them all. So I was like, oh, surely he's fine this time. And he wasn't. So, 9 years old, my dad passed away. And I would say from there on, it sort of got pretty sad. Obviously, it was hard to deal with. I couldn't go back for his funeral. Never got closure to say goodbye. Hadn't spoken to him for a while either before he passed away. Took me another couple of years before I went back to visit the rest of my family over there. And then I'd say from when I was about 10 years old, life started getting pretty hard with my mum. Mm-hmm. I would say that she has some problems that she's dealing with herself, but didn't want to get help or anything. She's an alcoholic as well. And from about 10 years old, I started getting a bit of emotional abuse from her. And then later on turned into physical abuse as well. Later on in life, I found out from my sister that she saw a lot of my dad in me and took it out on me, which obviously isn't fair, but that's how she dealt with things. It was definitely more emotional abuse. From about 10 till about 14, with bouts of physical abuse in between that. And she would just lie all the time to her stepdad. And he'd come home, he'd lie to her, she'd lie to him about what I'd done that day or whatever, and then I'd get in trouble for it. And eventually, the last night I lived there, we had an argument. She lied to my dad about something, and I finally called her out on it. I just had enough, and I was like, "No, you're lying." And then that started a whole new argument about you calling me a liar. I was like, "Yeah, I am. I finally am going to call you out on this." Sort of died down. I was due to go to South Africa in a couple of days, I think. So I went back to my room, started packing my stuff for that. She came storming in my room, kicking and punching me. I literally picked her up she's like 5'4" or something, picked her up by her arms, threw her onto my bed. And I decided then I'm going to call the cops. I'm like, I've had enough of this. I'm finally going to do something about it.
How old were you then?
14.
14 still.
I went to go grab the phone. She came running out, ripped the phone out of the wall. And I was like, I'm just going to leave. And as I was leaving, she threw herself on the floor and yelled out to my stepdad that I hit her. So my stepdad put me up against the wall, was like, "What did you do that for?" And I just said to him, "I never touched her." Walked out the door. She came running and she literally kicked me out the door. And that was the last time that I went back there until much later on in life. Luckily, the girlfriend I was with in high school, her mum had seen some of the stuff I was going through, and they took me into their house and looked after me. I remember, I think I was gone for this wasn't the first time I'd left the house, but usually after a couple of days, she'd ring me, my mum would ring me, when you're coming home, we'd sort things out, and then it'd just
Back and forth.
back and forth. And I remember this time, I was like, I'm not going back. If they were willing to take me in, and I'd sorted out with Centrelink and stuff about how to get away from her and being independent. And I remember she called me maybe a week later and said to me, when are you coming home? I said, I'm not. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I've already sorted everything out. I'm not coming back. And that was really hard to say goodbye to my brother and sister that were there. My stepdad as well, because he knew what I was going through, because he was going through the same with her. They ended up getting a divorce not long after that either. Yeah, it was kind of freeing at that point to just knew that I'd had enough. And luckily enough, it wasn't happening to my brother and sister, so it was only happening to me. I just had to remove myself from it.
That's wild at 14 that you have the foresight or like the knowing that to get away from those kind of things. I think at 14 there's so much. Let's say everything was fine, there wasn't abuse at home, there wasn't arguments, you had a stable kind of home life. As a teenager at 14, you got so much going on in your brain anyway. Everything's a massive deal. School, like if you're not necessarily good at it, sucks. Like, if you've got a good group of friends, great. But at 14, you got some shit going on anyway. I remember from that.
Yep.
And then add on all of this chaos in essence of like what you're experiencing and what you're going through. And then to have the level-headedness as a 14-year-old boy to be able to take yourself out of that, be in a relationship with somebody and be able to take a step back. I think there's definitely a spark or something a little bit different about you from the get-go. Because I know that, given the opportunity, some other people might not have been as kind. They might not have been as, there might be more violence that's coming from you. So it's wild to hear that that's like the start of your journey and start of your story. And I know that there's far more that comes after that as well. What do you think? Did you know as, I suppose, a 14-year-old that it was going to work out okay? Or when you were in that position, were you like, what the fuck is going on? I'm going to do my best with what I've got and I'm going to deal with things as they're coming right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't think it was going to be okay. I was extremely grateful for that girlfriend at the time, her parents to take me in. I would say her mum saved my life at that point, because that was probably the first time that I sort of thought about, I guess, suicidal thoughts was in that time, thinking that, well, if my mum can't love me, am I good enough? Sorry.
That's okay.
And yeah, she really looked after me. And I also, at that time, my girlfriend at the time, her sister had a fiance who was an awesome dude, and used to take me to the gym and all that sort of stuff, and sort of became my big brother. So that was a big help as well. And both of them got me out of a pretty dark time. I wasn't perfect then either. Started drinking probably when I was 14 as well, drinking pretty heavily, and wasn't exactly a nice drunk either, because I couldn't deal with any of my emotions. Didn't know how
angry.
to.
Yeah.
And they were there for me going through all of that. And then, inevitably that relationship ended. We're together for a fair bit, but turned 18 and then just went different ways. And at that point, I went back home. Well, sorry, I didn't then. Lived in my car for a bit. and sort of, I guess, some nights I was allowed at a mate's place, some nights I had to just sleep in my car somewhere. And then, probably 6 months of that, I then went back home and tried to have a relationship with my mum again. It was okay at the start, and then things just fell in the same pattern, arguing all the time. Both very strong-headed people as well, and I don't give up on a fight if I know I'm right, even though sometimes it's probably better too. She's still dealing with her alcoholism, and you could just never win the argument. That's why my stepdad would just go quiet and just let her talk, which pissed her off even more, because he never gave her that fight. We tried to have the relationship. I met my now wife during that time, and soon after that, it didn't take us long. We decided we're going to build a house together, all that sort of stuff. So I didn't live there for too much longer, maybe another year or two, and then moved out. And as we moved out, my stepdad finally told my mum he wanted a divorce. He was waiting for my brother and sister to get older. And she moved out and we were out, and we decided every second weekend or whatever, we'd go have lunch at her place. And inevitably it would be a super toxic and sad and sort of dark day every fortnight. We knew when we were going there, it was going to be negative. And I started going through all my stuff that we'll talk about in a bit. And dealing with the negativity from her, dealing with my own stuff. It's her who I reached out to when I was going to take my life, and she told me to do it. And that woke me up a bit. I told my wife, and we decided then and then she's out of our lives. And I think it's probably been 8 or 9 years since I've seen her now. She lives just up the road from us, but there's no room for her in our lives anymore. I didn't want my kids growing up with the negativity, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. So, yeah.
It's hectic, and like, it's amazing that you were able to find your wife, Jordan. And so did you meet in school?
No, we met. So we both worked at Red Rooster.
Yep.
Different stores.
Solid Red Rooster. Yep, love that.
Different stores. And I remember, so when I was with the girlfriend that I was living at their house, I got a text message from Jordan one day asking if I could cover a shift at her store. I think she got the number from my store manager or whatever. Didn't talk for another couple of years after that. I think I saw her at one of my mates' parties and thought she was pretty all right.
I'm going to marry you.
Well, I had a girlfriend at the time, and she heard me say that to my mate.
Yeah.
That didn't last too much longer. And then I think her mum got pregnant, and her mum messaged me one day and asked if I could pick her up from her store, because I'd become a store manager of mine. I could change my roster, do whatever I wanted. Mm-hmm. And she asked me if I could pick her up from her shifts and bring her home because she couldn't anymore. And that just started us getting to know each other. And a year later, maybe a bit more, we were together.
Mum's playing, what's the...
Her mum definitely had a massive...
What's the cherub, the love little... Cupid. Mum's playing Cupid. Yeah, had an interest, like, you're going to marry my daughter. I'm just going to plant the seed.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's so many pivotal or like sliding door moments that have happened in your life, and a lot of... you hear it so often of people who you would expect to be giving you something or love from your mother and from the people in your life, and the people that you wouldn't expect it from who have changed and impacted your life when
Yeah.
it comes to, your first girlfriend and her mum and her brother who were able to make that change in your life. You touched on so many things where you were speaking about how you were at a point where you no longer wanted to be here before. I know when you shared your story when we were up doing the training that, you know, I didn't have the background on what had got you to that point.
Yep.
And all the fuckery, in essence, that had happened in life that really you were fighting to stay here for a long time. Like even though you'd had those thoughts as a teenager for a very long time, you sounded like you were like, I want to stay here and I want to do the best I can. I want to be the best I can for people, even though you might not have been showing up that way. You also touched on when we had the conversation first that you were in a bigger body, you were feeling like shit about yourself, and you'd kind of gone down a rabbit hole in that. Can you talk us through, you're working in mining at the time.
I was at IKEA at the time.
Yeah, we were working at IKEA at the time.
Yep.
You got on Red Rooster, you worked at so do you have like cards for all of those places, like Red Rooster, IKEA, and you just like, you've decked out your house?
I still got a mate that works at IKEA actually. We were all like Red Rooster, and then one dude, his only job he's only ever been at IKEA.
Yeah.
And then we all went to IKEA, and we've all left, and he's still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was working at IKEA on permanent night shift, and I think I was in a supervisor role, and I'd gotten a new senior supervisor, and I thought it was going to be great having this new boss or whatever. And then my life started turning to hell at work. My targets started going up. My labour hours started going down. I couldn't achieve any of my targets, and I got demoted. And then his best friend got my job. So at that point, working permanent night shift, obviously sleep was terrible. That affected my mental health pretty badly. I'm eating vending machine food. You're on Red Bulls and coffees, trying to stay awake all night. Then I lost $400 a week after the demotion. We had just built a house and had a baby on the way. That's when peak stress levels started happening. I had got myself life insurance, and I made sure it would pay in the event of suicide, but I had to wait a year. So I got that knowing that in a year would be the time, and my family would be taken care of. At the time, because money was such a stressor, I thought it would be the only thing to make everybody else's life easier. And if I wasn't here, that's how it could be achieved. When I think back now, it's a stupid way to think of things, but at the time, that's literally all I could think of. Everything bad that was happening to us was because of money, and the way I could solve that was take a life insurance policy out, and then they could have that and be happy.
Which is wild to be in that position. And I think that's a good insight into when somebody is struggling, is that what I've learned as somebody who I haven't suffered with suicide ideation, I've kind of thought about it and then gone, nope, I so I know that I don't necessarily struggle with it, and so I didn't understand it, and I appreciate for yourself being able to share those moments because they're raw. They're like, you're cracked open. You're feeling like shit. You're at a point where you don't want to be here anymore. And in your not that your logical mind is working, but your logic is that it's for me to be able to solve this problem, it's best for me to not be here.
Yep.
And I think that's what people don't understand about suicide is there's no logic, but for you at that time, that made a lot of sense.
People talk about suicide being selfish and all that sort of stuff because of the people that you hurt when you leave. That's not something you can think of at the time. At the time, I guess you're being selfish because you're only thinking about you. But I found it from my experience, it wasn't I wasn't thinking about hurting anybody. I was just in my mind that was going to solve everybody else's problems around me.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't here, they'd be better off. When it was all happening as well, we just had our first child, and I was always tired, super overweight, and I know when I'm depressed, I guess, I want to do nothing but stay in bed.
Mm.
And I couldn't face the world. My wife would take our son out to events, whatever, with her family, and I wouldn't be there. I just couldn't do it. And I hated that because I wanted nothing. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a good dad. And then when all that was happening, I just wasn't it. I wasn't, like I said in the the live event, I wasn't a present husband. I wasn't a present father. And it wasn't until I'd come to terms with it, spoke to my wife about what my plans were, and started getting the help from her and meeting that friend of mine. It wasn't until then that I could finally be who I wanted to be. I'm still not there yet, but I try every day, and I'm far better than I was. My stepdad, for everything he's done for me, like he brought me to this country, and he's looked after me just like his own. But he was a worker in the city, barely home sort of thing. Long hours and that sort of stuff. And he was a good dad in terms of, I guess, how to be a man. I could see he was responsible, and he worked hard for his family and stuff, but also not having the love from my mum that I probably should have, who was home. I didn't get a lot of the hugs and the just love, I guess, that a kid needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I work pretty hard on that with my kids now, trying to give them what I guess I didn't have, show them what love is from their parents.
Mm. And it's tough being a parent, right? Like I know from all of my friends who've had kids and become parents, that first bit of like when you first become a parent, when your partner's going through it's pretty traumatic. Like you birth, like it's an operation, and then it's like, okay, we're off, we're going back home. You've got a child, you got to look after that child now. There's no training books necessarily. You don't know, like you're usually exhausted, each of you, because it's exhausting going through that process. The little one doesn't necessarily go, hey, you know what, you guys take a break. It's all good.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going to settle in and give you some time. They need you and they want you. And while that's beautiful, those first 8 weeks are like hectic city. And then you get into, like, I don't know if it happened with, you get into a little bit of a rhythm, and then something changes again. And then if your relationship isn't solid, if the relationship that you have with yourself isn't solid, then chuck a child in there and it's just going to beat you around 100%.
Yeah.
Did you find like that was like a catalyst, I suppose, for seeing, and was that a son or a daughter or?
We had our son first. He's the oldest. Yeah.
Yep.
No, to be honest, I'm super lucky having a wife like I do. When I think back to it now, I don't know why she stuck around during those first few years as soon as we got married, and then we're having kids and stuff, because I don't think I deserved it. I'm very grateful for the fact that she did, and that she was an amazing mum from the get-go.
You're making me cry.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't do a good job of being a parent, but I think she made up for it.
Yeah.
And was there enough that I could sort myself out, I guess.
Mm. And it's wild that you've been, like you were brought together to be able to have those. What is beautiful is, and what has made me emotional is that acknowledgement that you give to somebody else in your life, and for that person, like hanging around. What I find, I wasn't expecting to cry. What I find that sometimes doesn't happen when people are struggling is the acknowledgement of, like, while you feel alone, the acknowledgement that there's other people there that want to help you and that love you.
Yeah.
And for somebody to be able to stick around through that, I know that it's probably helped you now be able to help other people and have that just unconditional love that's helped you be the man that you are today.
Yeah, well, look, you touched on, like, at the time, you don't see it. At the time, it's harsh, but at the time you think nobody's there for you. You got to deal with it yourself. And I think that's a trap that you can get caught in. Because the people who are around you and who stick with you through those sorts of things, they love you. They're there for you. You might not see it at the time, but they wouldn't stick around if they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to say that now, looking back at it, but yeah, if they leave you, they're not there for you.
Mm.
If they stay, you should open up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the time you don't see it, but looking back now, at the first sign of my trouble, I should have just opened up.
Mm.
Like, my wife knew the stuff that I'd been through, but not how I was feeling at the time.
Mm.
So
is that your advice for somebody who might be struggling or going through that, or maybe supporting somebody who's going through that? Is like, is there a question, or do you remember going back to a time of something that she did ask you, or something that she said, or something that was a catalyst for you finally opening up?
No, it was only because of what my mum said to me that I decided to open up about how I was feeling. But my advice to someone going through something is, like I said, the people that are sticking around you while you're maybe being not who you want to be and being a bit of an arsehole or not present, just open up to them. You don't have to tell them the full story. That can come in stages, but you can at least tell them that you're not feeling great. I know it's hard to admit that you need help, but you're not going to realise until that moment who is there for you, because you think nobody is. And then once I opened up to my wife, I realised you've been here the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I could have just said something and we wouldn't be this far down the track. I could have sorted my shit out a lot earlier, maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? You never know. In hindsight, it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Like, going back, thinking about it. But it's interesting how you said as well, something else that you shared was, in those moments, your wife kind of pushed you to make a friendship and pushed you to step out of your comfort zone and, I suppose, shift the person that you were being. I know that a lot of people would be resistant to that, but it worked out.
Oh, I was super resistant. I've had a group of friends that I'd had for a fair few years. And it's not like a knock on them or anything. They're good dudes. They're awesome people. But I guess, like, I just had these friendships for ages, and I thought, no, that's all I need. I don't need other friends. It's bloody hard enough, keeping these friendships going. And I don't know. She just said one night, we're going to theirs for dinner, and I pretty much had no say in it, and got told you will be friends with him. And I was like, oh,
Here we go.
This is going to be terrible. And I reckon within about 20 minutes, half an hour, we'd found common ground already, him and I, and obviously took a fair few, like, more meetings or, like, seeing each other at the kids' schools and having chats or whatever. We like the same things, like the same sports, similar interest in music. And one thing I didn't have when I was growing up, like, we tried, but fishing and camping and that sort of stuff wasn't really what we did.
Well, it's not cheap, is it?
Well, my dad's, I'll say it, my stepdad, he's just not great at fishing.
Yeah, okay.
Right, he's got a nice boat. And we've tried.
Are they fighting words? Is like
I don't know. But, yeah, we tried fishing and stuff, but we just weren't ever good at it. This guy had grown up in Dampier up north. Him and his brother and his mates have been fishing, camping pretty much their whole lives. So it was cool. Sort of over the last couple of years, learnt how to fish and do the camping thing. And now I can, every so often, we take our two boys, him and I, out camping for the night and let them just run amok, and it's good.
yeah.
That sort of stuff, like I didn't really have. It's good fun.
Well, it's funny because it's like it's how it's shaped, and even at the live event we talked about ancestral trauma and things that had happened in the past. Like, if you don't have it, you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you hadn't had, and there's so much beauty in camping, fishing, going out and being. It's such a luxury to go out and be present in the world, because if you're in a lower socioeconomic family, if you don't have the money, if you've got a lot of stress going on, you don't have the initiative to kind of go out and go camping.
Yeah.
It's to take yourself out of the chaos of what life is. You might be working several different jobs, your relationships, like feeling like shit, you feel like shit. So actually having those moments as a kid, being able to go camping or fishing, the silence, you get to be bored.
Yeah.
You get to explore, you get to problem solve. And so it is actually such an amazing thing that you can give to your kids, but it is also, if you're not sound mind and you've got stuff going on mentally, it's sometimes not something that you go for.
Yeah.
So how amazing that you can give that to your kids.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Like, I wanted to be that dad, and when we're going through all that stuff, that would be the last thing on my mind, is to take my kids out camping or whatever. And we did it a few times, and it was always stressful.
Yeah. Because it is.
Yeah, it is stressful. And now over the last couple of years, things have de-stressed a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a caravan now, so
Yeah, there you
a
go.
lot easier than
All the luxury, you got it going on.
tenting.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. I've sort of, like I touched on in that live podcast, I've learnt a lot from him on, I guess, like manly things. He's super organised with it, like what he takes camping, and he knows what he's got to bring, and everything's organised. He packs well. He deals with all of that sort of stuff a lot better than I'm not organised at all. I'm just, we'll bring this, and this, and probably forget 20 things. And watching him interact with his brother as well, and the other guys that go out camping and fishing and stuff, it's cool to see those relationships. And again, him with his kids, it taught me a lot. I'm not like a standoffish dad with my own kids at all, but he has a great relationship with my kids, and I still don't have that with his kids yet, because I'm just weird, I guess.
Just a bit quirky.
Yeah, but watching him with my kids has also taught me over the last little bit of starting to talk to his kids and stuff a bit more, and that sort of stuff as well. So it's nice. We've known them for 8 years now, something like that. It's cool.
And he's been I remember you shared in the, before when you went to this first gathering and you were seeing him be a certain way with his friends, and it was something that you didn't necessarily grow up with.
Yep.
Take me back to that night where you'd gone out, you'd been forced to kind of go to a party, maybe it was the second or third time.
Yeah.
And what was it that you were seeing that you were like, what's happening?
I don't know. All right. So we get there. I know nobody, obviously, apart from him and his wife. And we go through into the backyard, and there's just, I don't know, 6 or 7 grown men playing hacky sack out the backyard. And I was like, I've never played hacky sack. This is something different. And I joined in with them, and funny story, glad it was my kid, but there's a bunch of kids running around playing hacky sack, and I kicked my daughter in the face in front of all these people that I've never met before.
So the first time they've met you?
First time I've met them, and I was just glad that it was my kid and not one of their kids. So that was quite funny, I guess, at the time. Like,
Did she find it funny?
no. To break the ice, I guess, with all these new people, to do something embarrassing like that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, they all grew up with each other, and they like almost accepted me on that first night. First time I've ever met these people. And yeah, watching them interact, especially my best mate and his brother, they have a really close relationship, and I've ended up being pretty close with his brother as well. And yeah, it was just awesome seeing a bunch of dudes like at the end of the night saying they love each other, but not just that, they were there to support each other, I guess. And they've had friends go through some stuff as well, and they all there to support each other. It's just, yeah, it was an awesome friendship group of friends to see, I guess. And again, it's not a knock on my old group of friends or whatever, but it just wasn't the same.
No.
I guess a lot of them hadn't or didn't understand things on a more emotional level with men, or maybe they're just a bit more guarded or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys definitely weren't.
And you were saying as well that it was like the first time you kind of heard and seen them say, you know, hey, love you.
Yeah.
Like, take us back. What was when you saw that kind of happen? Tell me in your words how that kind of felt and what that meant to you.
I was shocked at first that men actually did that, because I'd literally never experienced that before. Never seen any group of friends, whether it was my parents or whatever. And at that moment, I sort of felt like I needed that. Like I wish that I'd had that, especially going through all my dark times. Just to hear those words from a friend would have meant the world almost. It might not have changed things in how my life ended up, obviously, but to have a group of friends that might actually understand you on an emotional level would have been huge. And that all rolled through my brain right then, was like, wow, that would be awesome to have a group of friends like that. And then lucky enough, I've been around that group of friends now for quite some time. And yeah, it's awesome.
And you were like, I'm going to be friends with you. Now, so for somebody who hasn't listened to your live, what is that moment? What actually happened? I don't think we've actually gone. So you're at this party, you're leaving.
I think we were going to be there for a little bit longer. And it was more like watching the first friend leave, and they all said love you to each other, and they hugged each other. And I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. And then like the next person to leave was the same sort of thing. Go around to everybody, love you, bro, hugs. And everybody did it. And obviously, like the two brothers, I expected them to do it because they're brothers. But then it was probably like, maybe the next time that group of friends was together, and it happened again. And I sort of brought it up with my mate. I can't remember how I would have done it, but I brought it up to him, and it was normal to them. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything different. And now that's just sort of ended up how I've become as well with them. And, we see them maybe once a year now. It's usually at my mate's birthday. Everybody goes to his place, and it's hugs all around, and yeah, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
But with him and I, like we see each other pretty much every time I'm home from work, at the school, and every time, it's time for me to go back to work, it's hugs and love you, bro, and have a good swing, and yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, which is and it's crazy to think, like I grew up in a family where we hug each other and kiss each other, and we definitely let each other know that we love each other. But it's you don't realize you don't know what you don't know, so you
Yeah.
don't realize what you haven't seen or what you have seen or what impact you're able to make on someone.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that because so my immediate family, mum, dad, and that wasn't really a thing, but my biological father and his family, like that's a bunch of grown men, like 30-year-olds, still giving their dad a hug and a kiss goodbye. It's a big Afrikaans thing. It doesn't matter how old you are, you give your dad a kiss on the lips. Like weird to other people, but in Afrikaans culture, it's a lot of respect there. So I'd seen like my uncles and my dad do that, and then I didn't have it, and I'm trying to keep that going. Like my son he's 12 in November, still gives hugs, still kisses. I want to bring that back into our family because I think it's pretty powerful.
100%. And in the same respect of, I don't know if you've heard the saying of, if you don't heal the things that hurt you, you'll bleed on the people that didn't cut you. So similar to, like with your parents and with the stuff that was going on in their house, it was just bleeding everywhere because shit was shit.
Yeah.
In the same respect, and on the other side of that, you can be the change that you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
You can make that impact. You can change the life of your family. You can change how people perceive you and how they perceive themselves. And I know that, because of all the impact that other people have had on you and the help that they've been able to reach out, simply saying, I love you at a party or simply saying it to each other has probably impacted you as a, like as a partner, a father, as definitely as, a friend, but also as a leader and probably how you lead and how you feel about people. How do you think all of that has kind of impacted, and how does it show up for you when you're in like a work environment or when you're in a professional environment as a leader trying to inspire your crew?
I find I'm a lot more empathetic than a lot of other leaders around. I acknowledge if people are going through some shit. They might not tell me they're going through some shit or want to speak about it. But, I mean, mining's pretty go, go, go. And it's nobody really gives a shit about how you're feeling on the day when it comes to getting your work done. At the end of the day, we got targets and we got shit to do. And I find, I've had a lot more feedback from my crew that things aren't as stressful when I'm running it, or they feel like they can have that. Everybody needs a day sometimes, but we're all human. Everybody needs a day sometimes where they can't be at their best. And I understand that. I don't as long as you do your job, I'm not going to push you. And if you need that space, that's all good. I'm always there for people if they want to have that chat, because I know that could make a difference to somebody. And I find like a lot more people will chat to me than they do to the other bosses around. Just try and understand people basically. And I guess because I show that I'm only human, it's a good way to lead that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not perfect. I'm not on my game 100% of the time at all. And they see that and they know that. So I think they can see that I'm only human as well.
Yeah. I think it's definitely important to show up with that kind of vulnerability, especially in those environments. FIFO is unlike anything else where you work together, you go through shit together, you live together, you eat, you drink, like you do a lot of things together and you're in that isolation with each other. And I think that's definitely what can be missing sometimes for people is having that openness and the understanding for people 100%. What is it that you do to maintain, there's shit that goes on all the time. You're throwing curveballs all over the place. How do you maintain kind of composure? How do you stay moving forward instead of going backwards when you know that that's what life has been? And what is it that you do daily or habits that you've got?
At the moment, I'm probably not in my strongest headspace, but there's been a lot of stuff in the last few months that we've gone through with needing to move house and stress trying to find a house and that sort of stuff. But I know when I am at my best, it might not be every day, but going to the gym at least 2 or 3 times in a week, doing something physical, and I'll get into phases every now and again where I'll not necessarily meditate, but just have quiet time. And that's sometimes pretty easy to do in your donga. Like as soon as you wake up, just have 10 minutes of just quiet and get ready for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at the moment, I would say nothing. But when I am good, it's just I guess mindfulness, and definitely when I'm in good physical shape, my mental
You feel better.
my mental game is way stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not there at the moment, but trying again.
Yeah, 100%. And then so with how you show up in your relationships, what's some of the things that you never used to say or do for Jordan or with Jordan that you find that you do now, being where you wanted to work on your relationship and now you're in a better relationship? How is that different?
As I would say, I'm still not perfect and I'm still not there yet, I'd say. But it's not a flat out no to going out places, taking the family out places. I still find it difficult. I find it difficult dealing with other people. I'm definitely not an introvert, but big crowds and stuff, I find it really hard to deal with. So in that aspect of just doing like family activities, I'm a lot better than I was. And in terms of just between us, again, I'm still probably not perfect, but I try and show that I love her more than just say it. Again, not perfect, but
None of us are.
I try a lot to show it now rather than just say it.
Mm-hmm. And did you, when you were going through the worst of how you were feeling, did you end up speaking to somebody or what was it that
I
helped
still
you?
haven't spoken to anybody.
Yeah, okay.
Something that I know I need to do. There's a lot of things that I am still confused about and have no idea how to navigate. I still don't think I've navigated my dad's death, and that was 26 years ago.
Mm.
There's a lot of things that I still need to work on, and I know this, but yeah, I still haven't spoken to anybody.
Yeah, but what worked for you is the support network around you,
Yeah.
making sure you're asking for help.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then doing that live event was the first time I was sort of, a couple of people know my story. That was the first time I'd spoken about it, and that actually helped me a fair bit, unpack things, and it sort of made me think about things again. Same with this, the last couple weeks thinking about what I was going to talk about, and then because you forget about a lot of your past when you're not thinking about it, I guess. And then because I was thinking about it, it brought up all the things that I've been through, and sort of tells me again, yeah, you should probably go see somebody about that.
Go and have a conversation. Yeah. I think that's the biggest fear when I speak to men up on side and just in the world is that, or people who aren't necessarily inclined to have a conversation about those things in the past, is there's a fear that it's all going to blow up, shit's going to hit the fan, and there's no return. Once that Pandora box is open, then fucking shit's going to get real. Yeah. And while a part of that is true, once it's open, there is like kind of no return, but there's so much on the other side. and the person that you're like kind of holding on to, sometimes you don't need to. It's like allowing that fear, push through that fear to be able to make those changes and to grow as a human, and that you get to be a better version of yourself on the other side of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as humans, everything's trying to take the easy way out. Well, by human nature. You don't want to do the hard things, but sometimes the hard things are necessary to do, like getting fit, that sort of stuff. It sucks. At first, trying to get back in a routine, getting into the gym, all that sort of stuff, it sucks balls. But once you see the results and you start feeling better, it's awesome. But it's getting up and doing those hard things, having the hard conversations. That is where growth is, I reckon.
I really appreciate you taking out the time, both, for the live event, sharing it in the leadership training, sharing it when we did the event here, and then taking the time out to be here today. Not that you have to sacrifice for anybody else, but I know there's so many people who've been through a lot of things in their life and who have never felt comfortable enough to share it. And I know that there'll be someone, if not multiple people, who will hear what you've said, who will resonate with what you've said and see themselves in you, and that ripple effect that makes waves to be able to help people and, let's be real, save people.
Yeah.
So thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone, and thank you for all the challenges that you've been through. Thank you to Jordan as well for being there to support you and helping be the man that you are today, but also thank you for doing the work to get you here.
Thank you for having me and letting me tell my story.
Pleasure. Such a pleasure. I know that this isn't just, this is just the beginning, hey?
Yep, definitely. Yep.
Bring it. If you've enjoyed today's episode, you've taken something away, maybe for yourself or somebody else, I would love for you to share, and I'd love to hear from you. We are always keen on having conversations that people want to have and tackling those really hard subjects. So reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me on the Resource Podcast, where we are making a ripple effect and making massive waves.